Welcome to Top Fact Amazing. Animals are known for their wild antics, that's part of what makes them so lovable, right? But what if I told you there's a way to instantly calm your cat down with just a simple pinch in the right spot? Or that even intimidating sharks can be turned docile and harmless in mere seconds? Get ready to be amazed, because we're about to dive into some surprising tricks that can hypnotize animals of all kinds. Hypno Hen. Everyone's always asking why the chicken crossed the road, but how do you stop it from crossing in the first place? Simple, you draw a line in front of its beak. Just watch this, draw a line, and voila! Hypnotized chicken. By holding a chicken down by the head and drawing a straight line in front of it, you can make it completely freeze for up to half an hour. No, it's not magic. Researchers call this tonic immobility, and it's actually a fear response. When a chicken is held like this, it instinctively senses danger, so it seizes up, faking its own death. While it sounds like a strange defense mechanism, it actually makes sense. If a predator thinks its prey is dead, it might relax, giving the chicken a chance to snap out of it and escape. So what's the deal with the line? Turns out, not much. This technique actually dates back to the 1600s, when Italian monk Athanasius Kircher first tried it as an experiment. He'd tie hens' feet and lay them down, and after a brief struggle, they'd stop moving altogether. Then Kircher would untie the hens and draw a chalk line in front of them. Yet, even unbound, the hens stayed completely still. Kircher believed the hens thought the line was the string still tying their feet, and so they accepted their fate. Since then, scientists have proven that's not the case. Turns out, the line actually does, well, nothing at all. Though, you gotta admit, it does give the whole trick a certain dramatic flair. Which is no doubt why people still do it today. What a bunch of drama queens. Amusing display. Some animals are cute as can be. Others, not so much. And I'd say emus fall firmly into the terrifying category. But if you ever find yourself face to face with a mob of these winged beasties, don't panic. There's one simple trick to turn their aggression into curiosity, and no, it doesn't involve a pocket watch. Just lie back on your shoulders and start pedaling your legs like you're riding an imaginary bicycle. Take a look. See? No joke. This oddly specific action makes emus overwhelmingly fascinated. They're naturally curious creatures, so anything unusual is bound to get their attention. And what's more unusual than a person lying on the ground, pretending to pedal a bike in the air? The origin of this technique is actually fascinating. It's said to be an old trick used by Aboriginal hunters to lure emus closer. Since emus can sprint up to a blazing 30 miles per hour, these hunters had to get creative to catch them. Guess curiosity didn't kill the emu, but it certainly makes them easier to catch. Now, if you're curious, go ahead and hit those like and subscribe buttons so I can keep feeding your thirst for knowledge. All done? Okay, where were we? Hypno Hopper. You might know Futurama's Hypnotoad, but did you ever think it had any real-life basis? Well, it sorta does. Unlike the Hypnotoad, real toads can't hypnotize people, but they can be hypnotized. And you can do it with the very device you're holding right now. Just pull up a spiral video, put it in front of them, and voila! One hypnotized toad. Got two phones? Double the fun. Ah, the wonders of TikTok. Spinning spirals are a classic hypnotism trope, but there's no scientific evidence that they should work on anything. So why are toads so entranced? Maybe it's sensory overload, or maybe they just find it too mesmerizing to look away. Charmed, not charming. I don't know about you, but I'm petrified of snakes. So you won't catch me trying my hand at snake charming, unlike these folks. And honestly, I'm not sure who looks more intense, the charmer on the left, or his punji playing buddy. Is what now? Well, snake charmers play a special reed instrument called a punji to entrance their serpents, or at least, that's how it appears. When a snake sees the punji, it perceives it as a potential threat and rises up in a defensive pose. As the snake charmer sways the punji from side to side, the snake follows the movement, ready to respond in case the predator attacks. However, the snake won't strike first, since charmers typically use cobras, which are naturally non-aggressive. And here's a fun twist: the cobra can't even hear the music. Without external ears, cobras can only sense low-frequency vibrations, so the tune is just for show. It might not be true hypnotism, but the cobra can't help but follow the punji. Even if it's not full hypnosis, I'd still call it hypnotism. Shook up sharks. If getting up close with a cobra makes you squirm, you might want to look away, because things are about to get even freakier. Remember how we put the chicken into a state of tonic immobility? Well, it turns out sharks can be put into this state too. Not quite the same technique, though. You actually have to flip them upside down. Yes, that's a real thing. With skill and patience, it's possible to turn a shark over, which can send it into a state of total relaxation. Turning it belly up is believed to trigger the same fear response that chickens have when restrained, leading it into a trance-like state known as tonic immobility. Once flipped, the shark's muscles relax, and its breathing slows into a calm, steady rhythm. It zones out for a few minutes, almost as if it's sleeping. And just like that, one of the ocean's top predators is reduced to a floating seafood stick. Why such a powerful creature would have a response that leaves it vulnerable isn't entirely clear. Some scientists suggest it's related to mating behavior rather than fear, but either way, researchers often use this technique when studying sharks. Keep in mind, though, it only works with certain species, like reef sharks, so don't get any ideas if you come face to face with a great white. If that happens, well, the shark will probably be enjoying a nice dinner. Controlling cuttlefish. So far, we've only looked at animals getting hypnotized, but one creature can actually do the hypnotizing. Meet the cuttlefish, a fascinating mollusk with skin made up of millions of specialized cells called chromatophores that let it change color at will. This amazing ability is perfect for camouflage, but cuttlefish use it for so much more. When hunting, they transform into a bright, pulsating light show. This hypnotic display grabs the attention of any nearby shrimp, crab, or small fish, luring them in close. Then, in a split second, the cuttlefish strikes, shooting its tentacles forward to snatch its hypnotized prey. Once you're caught in that light show, there's no escape from the cuttle. Stupefying spinner. I'll admit, cat videos are my guilty pleasure. And if they're yours too, you'll know that these quirky felines can't resist a fidget spinner. Just look at this guy. These little spinning toys are so hypnotic that they can keep cats transfixed for hours. But have you ever wondered why cats get so obsessed with them? It all comes down to their strong hunting instincts. Cats think the spinning toy could be a mouse or some other small creature, so they give it a poke to investigate. When the fidget spinner doesn't squeal or scamper off, you'd think the cat would lose interest, right? But nope, they stay mysteriously captivated, even though they know it's not food. Maybe their hunting drive is just too powerful to ignore. I mean, sure, fidget spinners are kinda satisfying, but hours of play? If a person got that obsessed, I'd be a little spun out. Shell shock. Did you know you can hypnotize a lobster into doing a headstand? Nope, I'm not kidding, and by now, nothing should surprise you. All you have to do is flip the lobster over, balance it on its claws, and gently stroke its back a few times. Voila! As if by magic, the lobster becomes completely still. But why would anyone want to do this? Well, chefs use this technique to keep crustaceans still before, cooking them alive. Ouch! Despite how common the practice is, there's not much research into how it actually works. Stroking the lobster's back might relax it, similar to how petting calms a dog, so it lets its guard down and allows you to turn it upside down. Once flipped, some think the blood rushing to its head causes it to pass out, kind of like what happens to humans if we're upside down too long. Others believe this immobility is a defense mechanism, making the lobster appear dead to avoid predators. Little do these poor critters know, they're just making things easier for their own cooking. What a clawful way to go. Hypnosis. If you've got a cat, you know that as lovable as they are, they can also be pretty feisty, especially when you try to pick them up. But here's a game changer. There's actually a super effective way to calm any cat instantly, no matter how riled up they are. Just grab a bulldog clip or a clothes peg, clip it onto the scruff of your cat's neck, and watch. Instant calm. And all you have to do to lift the spell is unclip the peg. Wild, right? So why does it work? It's all about instinct. When you clip a cat's scruff, it gives them the same feeling of calm and protection they had when their mother carried them. This innate soothing effect is so strong that, even without mom around, cats relax almost immediately. And it's not just for kittens, this trick works on many adult cats as well. So, next time you need to clip your kitty's nails, give it a try. It's a pretty possum hack. Musical madness. It's rare to meet a person who doesn't love music, but we don't usually think of animals enjoying it. Surprisingly, some really do, and it can have such a dramatic effect on them that it's almost like hypnosis. Take cows, for example, they're one of the animals most affected by a good tune. See how they start off far away? But the music-loving Moors just can't resist that sweet, sweet sound. Soon enough, they're totally captivated. Just like us, cows find music calming and relaxing, so much so that it almost puts them into a trance-like state. And believe it or not, they have musical preferences, too. Jazz and classical music have been shown to relax them, while more upbeat tunes can actually stress them out. So Beethoven? Great for cows. Skrillex? Not so much. In fact, relaxed cows with low stress levels produce more milk, so farmers actually have good reason to hold concerts for them. Who's ready for Milkfest 2K23? Farmyard fainters. I once fainted just taking my socks off after a long, hot summer's day. Ugh, the stench. But for one breed of goat, fainting is a regular hazard, and it can be triggered by pretty much anyone. Just give the goat a good scare, and it'll seize up and topple over every single time. Poor little guy. But you have to admit, it's a bit funny. Goats with this trait are known as myotonic goats, and the reaction is due to a rare genetic disorder called myotonia congenita. These goats don't actually faint, their skeletal muscles tense up in response to shock, causing them to freeze and fall over. Usually, myotonic goats are fully aware during these faints, so it's like they're being hypnotized. They can't stop themselves from tipping over, even though they're conscious the whole time. Fortunately, it doesn't hurt them, and they bounce right back up once the stiffness fades. Good thing, too, otherwise, I'd feel guilty for laughing. Cat trap. Want to try a bit of feline mind control but don't have a clip handy? Just grab some tape, mark out a shape on the floor, and wait. Your curious kitty is almost guaranteed to walk over and sit in the middle, and this quirky trick has caused quite a stir on social media. If you're wondering why it works, it's all about making the cat feel safe and secure. Cats love curling up in tight spaces because it gives them a sense of security. Oddly enough, they don't seem to notice the difference between a simple tape shape and an actual cardboard box. So, they'll feel just as compelled to sit in it even though, in reality, it offers zero protection. It's like hacking into their brains. So, if you want your cat to stay in one specific room instead of climbing all over the furniture, you know what to do. This furry feline looks positively mesmerized inside that taped-off square. Now, if only we could do this with annoying family members. Beguiled bunny. We've all seen a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat, but here's something far more impressive, putting a rabbit into an actual trance. And surprisingly, it's easy. Just lay a rabbit on its back in the crook of your arm, raise its rump a bit higher than its head, and give it a gentle stroke. In no time, the rabbit will close its eyes and become completely immobilized. This is yet another case of tonic immobility. When flipped over, rabbits instinctively feel they're being targeted by a predator. As a last-ditch effort to avoid being eaten, they enter this frozen state, hoping the predator will let its guard down and drop them. In days gone by, magicians would use this rabbit trick in their acts. Nowadays, though, we know it's actually quite cruel. Despite appearing relaxed, rabbits experience high stress levels when immobilized like this. Their heart rate can spike to dangerous levels, even becoming fatal. So, if you've got a bouncy fluffer of your own, please don't try this on them. You'll end up with anything but a happy bunny. Luckily, not all animals prone to tonic immobility hate it quite as much. Like rabbits, if a lizard is placed on its back, it'll instinctively play dead to avoid danger. Unlike rabbits, though, lizards don't get stressed out by this, so you can try a bit of reptilian hypnosis without feeling guilty. See? He's perfectly fine. And when this little guy thinks the coast is clear, he'll hop right back up and make a swift exit. Now that's what I call a speedy getaway. Bop-pin birds. Sometimes a song is so good, it feels hypnotic. Music has powerful effects on the human brain, and studies show it can influence some birds too. Just put on a groovy tune and watch, they can't help but bob along. These dancing birds just can't resist the beat. One cockatoo named Snowball became famous back in 2007 when he was found headbanging and stomping his feet to the rhythm. He's got better moves than I do. Scientists studying Snowball found that his love for beats was tied to his ability to mimic sounds. Animals that can mimic sounds, like parrots, are more likely to respond to music with movement. But animals like cats and dogs, which lack the ability to mimic, don't have the brain circuitry to bop along. Makes sense, right? Rhythm and mimicry go hand in hand, so if you can't mimic music, you probably can't move to it either. What's really interesting is how totally captivated birds seem to get. They just have to shake those feathers. Groovy, birdie. They may look a lot cuter than the Terminator, but weasels are just as skilled at being ruthless hunters. And they've even turned their hunting tactics into a sort of hypnotic art. Before these fierce little furballs strike, they start darting, twisting, and jumping in a wild, erratic performance known as the weasel war dance. The theory is that this wacky display is designed to confuse and hypnotize their prey. Instead of running, the victim becomes stunned, watching the dance, completely transfixed. And by then, it's already game over. The weasel quickly corners its prey, wraps its muscular body around it, and delivers a deadly bite to the back of its neck. Ouch! Once a weasel's locked in, there's no weaseling out of that one. Laser quest. When you're all cozy in bed, there's nothing worse than realizing a light is still on and having to get up to turn it off. But if you have a laser pointer and a cat, that problem's a thing of the past. It's genius, and it works because cats get totally obsessed with those little red dots. Yep, they're completely hypnotized. With a laser pointer in hand, you can guide them pretty much wherever you want. Thanks to their hunting instincts, cats' brains are wired to follow anything that moves fast, like their natural prey. So, when they spot that zipping red light, they just have to chase it. But if you try this trick, watch where you aim that laser, or you might end up with a catastrophe on your hands. Fish are famously slippery, so catching one with your bare hands sounds nearly impossible. But there's a hypnotic trick that makes scooping trout out of the water a lot easier than you'd think. If you can get close enough without scaring it off, quickly bend down and gently rub its underbelly with your fingers, almost like giving it a tickle. As impossible as it sounds, this technique can actually work. Done right, the tickled trout falls into a dazed trance for a couple of seconds, making it just possible to snatch it out of the water. Give him a little belly tickle. Oh, he's got it. I can't believe it. Oh yeah. Trout tickling isn't some newfangled YouTube trend either. It's been practiced for centuries, and even comes up in a Shakespeare play. Apparently, they love the sensation, which is why they stop moving long enough for you to be able to pick them up. It all sounds a bit fishy to me, but I can't deny it works. Anyway, that's just about all we have time for today, folks. Which of these hypnotic acts did you find the most mesmerizing? Let me know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.